My name is Cutter Bernhardt, and I'll be going over Chapter 21, Burnout and Overtraining. Here are some important definitions for Chapter 6 pertaining to the causes of burnout in sport: periodized training, overtraining, staleness. Burnout is a physical, emotional, and social withdrawal for a formal, enjoyable sport activity. Emotional and physical exhaustion that occurs as a result of chronic stress. The characteristics are exhaustion, feeling of low personal accomplishment, low self-esteem, failure, and depression, depersonalization, and devaluation. Once a person experiences burnout, withdrawal from the stress environment is often inevitable. Athletes and coaches rarely end their involvement of a sport due solely to burnout, unless the high cost of excessive long-term stress outweighs the benefits. These are the 5 models of burnout that have been developed to help explain the burnout phenomenon. I will cover each in more detail in the following slides. Cognitive Affective Stress Model is a stress-based model of burnout in sport consisting of 4 stages. First stage is situational demands, which are high demands placed on the athlete, such as high volumes of training and excessive pressure to win. The second stage is cognitive appraisal. Individuals interpret and appraise the situation, which can differ for each individual. Example, a coach of a team with a losing streak may fear for losing his job, as another coach with the same losing streak may see it as a challenge. The third stage is psychological response. If a situation is seen as harmful or threatening, then over time the individual's perception becomes chronic and an increase in tension, irritability, and fatigue is set in. The fourth stage is behavioral response. The previous stage leads to certain coping and task behaviors, such as decreased performance, interpersonal difficulties, and eventually withdrawal from the activity. Negative Training Response Model. The negative training response model is focused mainly on physical training, although recognizing the importance of psychological factors. Physical training can have both positive and negative effects on the person's psychological features. Positive adaptation is desirable, like an athlete doing lots of sprint work to become faster. Negative adaptation is hypothesized to lead to negative responses such as overtraining and staleness, leading to burnout. Unidimensional Identity Development and External Control Model. This model's primary focus is sociological and that burnout is a symptom and mainly targets younger athletes involved in high-performance organizations at a young age. The author goes on to argue that because of this involvement, the young athlete does not spend enough time with their peers and are socially lost. Commitment and Entrapment Theory. This theory takes the view that burnout is due to sport commitment. Radke argues that athletes commit to sport for 3 reasons: wanting to participate, believe they have to participate, and the combination of both. He continues to argue that athletes that are prone to burnout feel entrapped by sport when they truly do not want to participate, but believe they must maintain their involvement. This entrapment theory views that burnout occurs when athletes become entrapped in sport and lose motivation but continue to participate. To help avoid this feeling, coaches and parents should ensure athletes enjoy their participation, encourage and support athletes but not pressure them, and make sure athletes are involved in and have input into the decision-making process regarding training and competition. Self-determination theory. Recall that self-determination theory has 3 basic psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When these needs are met, a person's motivation and psychological well-being are maximized. Without these basic needs met, the athlete is more likely to burn out. Burnout research evidence. Burnout research evidence is the interaction of personal and situational factors causing burnout, including these categories: personal physical concerns, including injury, overtraining, feeling tired at all time, and lacking of physical development, as well as erratic performance and losing. Logistical concerns include traveling, the demands of the sport that dominate an athlete's life, leaving an athlete with little or no time for family or friends. Social or interpersonal concerns, which include dissatisfaction in social life, negative parental influences, and competing with a sibling for a parent's attention. Psychological concerns are the most frequently noted, accounting for more than 50% of the reasons given for burnout. These concerns include unfulfilled expectations, realization that professional career is unlikely, and feeling lack of improvement. Ways to measure burnout. The most common way of measuring burnout is using the Malish Burnout Inventory, which measures the perceived frequency and intensity of the feeling of burnout. The inventory measures three components: emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and low sense of personal achievement. Emotional exhaustion is the feeling of emotional overextension and exhaustion. Depersonalization. Feeling towards people are detached and there is a sense of just going through the motions. Low sense of personal accomplishment, which refers to a decreased feeling of competence and achievement in one's work with people. Burnout in sports professionals. Burnout sports professionals consist of athletic trainers, officials, and coaches. Athletic trainers have long hours, deal with multiple sports, and have the stress of a coach depending on them to prepare and ready athletes for competition. Many athletic trainers feel once their several roles become a blur that more than likely they are feeling burned out. Officials face great stress and receive few compensations for the stress other than the satisfaction of a job well done. This increase in stress leads to the majority of officials suffering from burnout. Coaches are prime candidates for burnout, with stress coming from the pressure to win, administration and parental interference and indifferences, disciplinary problems, and many more reasons. The following are styles of burnout among coaches: gender differences, age and experience differences, coaching styles, and entrapped coaches. With gender differences, some studies show that there is a high rate of female coaches experiencing burnout over their male counterpart. This explained by female coaches being expected to fulfill coaching responsibilities but also to nurture their athletes. Age and experience differences. Younger and less experienced coaches have higher rate of burnout than do older coaches. This may be due to coaches that experience high levels of stress and burnout, quit coaching, leaving the older coaches who remain likely to have better coping skills. Coaching style is another factor of burnout. Coaches with a consideration style of leadership, caring and people-oriented, have a higher rate of burnout than coaches with a more goal-oriented and authorization style. Entrapped coaches. Coaches experiencing high levels of entrapment have been found to report significantly higher levels of emotional burnout. And social support. Coaches who report high levels of satisfaction with social support also experience low levels of perceived stress and burnout. Treatment and prevention. Coaches and athletes alike can help prevent and treat burnout by expanding on the following suggestions. Monitor critical state in athletes, which is stress levels, stress sources, training volumes, and recovery activities. Communicate between coaches and athletes. Set short-term goals for competition and training. These provide feedback and can enhance self-concepts. Take relaxation breaks. Learn self-regulation skills. Keep a positive outlook. Manage post-competition emotions from a coach providing supportive atmospheres. And stay in good physical condition.